Is this the birth of a new song that will shake the world, or a mysterious collaboration hidden behind closed doors? Why did Jungkook BTS slip into a Los Angeles studio at night? And who is the figure seen with him? Like, comment, and subscribe now before you regret being the last to know this huge secret, because the moment Jungkook BTS stepped into a Los Angeles recording studio has finally come to light. The question is, are we witnessing the creation of a new masterpiece, or a secret collaboration that will shock the entire music industry? The dim, golden light spilling across the wooden panels of the studio felt cinematic, almost too perfect to be real. A mixing board lit up with tiny signals, headphones scattered on leather couches, and in the center of it all Jungkook, standing tall, arms crossed, his tattoos catching the glow as he watched something unfold before him. He wasn't singing, at least not yet. He was listening, observing, measuring, and in that silence, an entire mystery was born. Why Los Angeles? Why now? Why this particular studio, famous for housing countless global hits? Fans couldn't help but ask. Jungkook could have chosen Seoul, Tokyo, or London, but no, he chose LA, the heart of the global music scene, the place where legends are made. Was it a coincidence, or was it a calculated move? And most importantly, who was the person standing before the microphone in that oversized black hoodie? Was he a producer, a songwriter, or someone much bigger perhaps? An artist preparing to lend their voice to a track that might soon dominate the charts. Every second felt like a breadcrumb leading to something greater. The faint hum of machines, the glow of computer screens full of sound waves, the quiet nods exchanged between those inside all of it, created an atmosphere of secrecy. Jungkook wasn't just present, he was in control, his gaze sharp but calm, his half-smile hiding more than it revealed. It wasn't the look of someone casually visiting a studio. No, this was the look of an artist overseeing the birth of something monumental. Could it be a new solo track? Or was Jungkook preparing to stun the world with a feature no one saw coming? ARMY immediately began piecing together theories. The way he leaned in at one point, whispering something to the man in front of the mic, and how that man nodded instantly, adjusting his delivery as if Jungkook's word carried absolute weight. Was this a clue that Jungkook wasn't just recording, but directing, guiding the process, maybe even co-producing? The mystery deepened with every frame. That tattooed arm folded neatly against his chest, that poised stance in the corner of the room. Jungkook looked less like a guest and more like the mastermind. And yet, he said nothing, not a word, just silence, punctuated by the rise and fall of music through massive studio speakers. It was as though he knew the world outside was waiting, desperate for answers, but he had no intention of giving them. Not yet. Fans know Jungkook is a perfectionist. Every note, every beat, every breath in his songs is carefully shaped. That's why the casual calmness he displayed here was so striking. Why was he so relaxed if this wasn't something major? Could it be because he knew exactly what he was creating, and knew it would shake the world the moment it was revealed? What if this was more than music? What if this was a story, a message, a hidden confession waiting to be unlocked by the fans who know him best? Theories spread like wildfire. A soulful ballad, a daring pop anthem, or perhaps a collaboration that bridges cultures and genres in a way no one has dared before. And then the subtle yet electrifying interactions. A nod, a smile, a whisper. They were quick, almost invisible, but they spoke volumes. It was the kind of unspoken communication between artists who don't need words because they understand each other's language of music. Did we just witness the very first spark of a new global anthem? For ARMY, these aren't just studio photos. They are pieces of a puzzle, fragments of a secret world Jungkook allows them to glimpse but never fully enter. Yet that glimpse is enough to stir emotions. It's enough to create sleepless nights filled with theories, hope, and anticipation. And so the final, burning question lingers in the air. When those studio doors finally swing open, what sound will emerge? A voice that melts hearts, a beat that electrifies stadiums, or a collaboration that rewrites history? The night in Los Angeles had a strange heaviness to it, a weight that clung to the air as though it knew something monumental was happening behind closed doors. For most people, it was just another evening in a city that never sleeps. But for ARMY, Every whispered rumor and every blurred photo became evidence, proof that Jungkook was somewhere inside those soundproof walls, building something that could rewrite history. Fans had seen Jungkook on countless stages, his voice soaring, his body moving with flawless precision, his eyes blazing under the spotlight. But here, in this dimly lit studio, stripped of performance lights and roaring crowds, he seemed different, sharper, almost like a sculptor staring at raw marble, preparing to carve out something immortal. And perhaps that's exactly what he was doing. The studio itself added layers to the mystery. This wasn't just any space. Rumors whispered that legends had walked through this very room, that songs born here had gone on to win Grammys and dominate charts for years. And now Jungkook stood there, in the same spot, his presence humming with anticipation. Why here? Why now? The clues scattered through those leaked images and fleeting seconds of footage were small but powerful. The hoodie-clad figure before the microphone wasn't just casually humming. He was pouring something raw into that mic, something unpolished but passionate. Jungkook's eyes followed him intently, his jaw tightening slightly as if every note mattered. He leaned back against the leather couch, but the tension in his posture betrayed him. He wasn't relaxed. He was calculating, absorbing, deciding. Was he listening to a demo for his own voice to later replace? Or was this someone else's track that Jungkook had stepped into as collaborator, lending his ear and vision to perfect it? Either way, it was clear, Jungkook was not a passive participant. He was leading, guiding, and then came the gesture that left ARMY dissecting for hours. A quiet smile flickered across his lips, followed by a subtle nod, almost imperceptible if not for the toning. It happened right as the vocalist in the booth shifted tone, reaching for something deeper, darker. That nod was approval but also direction, as if Jungkook had been waiting for that exact sound. This tiny exchange was enough to light theories on fire. Could Jungkook be producing? Fans know he has long been fascinated with production, experimenting with beats and recording equipment in his downtime. Could this be the moment where Jungkook steps not only as a singer, but as a full-fledged producer, shaping music from the ground up? But that wasn't the only clue. In the corner of the mixing console sat a familiar logo, barely visible but unmistakable to sharp-eyed fans. It belonged to a major American label. Why would Jungkook record here, under their roof? Unless something global, something massive was in motion. Was HYBE partnering with one of the biggest names in the US music industry to launch Jungkook's next era? The idea wasn't far-fetched. After all, Jungkook has already proven his dominance worldwide, with solo hits that shattered streaming records within hours of release. But this felt different, bigger, the kind of project that doesn't just drop overnight but is carefully, strategically built to send shockwaves across the globe. And yet, in the midst of all this speculation, there was a human layer that couldn't be ignored. Watching Jungkook in that studio, fans felt a surge of emotions. Here was their idol, no longer just the golden maknae, who had once nervously stood in front of a mic as a teenager in Seoul. Here was a man, an artist, seasoned by years of triumphs and scars, now standing in the epicenter of the music world, ready to etch his voice into eternity once again. It was almost poetic. Jungkook, who had once confessed in interviews about doubting himself, now stood with unshakable confidence, tattoos visible, aura commanding, as if he had finally stepped into the role destiny had carved for him. And yet, the beauty of it lay in the unknown. Fans didn't need the full picture, the shadows, the hints, the mystery. It was enough to keep their hearts racing. Could this be his way of telling ARMY, wait for me, something's coming? In the days following the first leak of these studio images, ARMY across platforms dissected every frame. Some pointed to the presence of multiple engineers, suggesting that the track involved heavy layering and possibly multiple artists. Others fixated on the soundboard, noting the number of active channels. It wasn't just a solo vocal being recorded, but possibly instruments, harmonies, even hidden guest features. The hoodie-wearing figure also became the subject of endless debate. Was he just a session vocalist laying down reference tracks? Or could he be someone much bigger? A name intentionally hidden to preserve the secrecy of a monumental collab?